Okay, folks, let's get started here. Hey, like I was saying last week we expected the NASDAQ, the Dow, or the S&P 500 to reach all-time highs. It appears I was a couple of days off. Today, the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 reached their all-time highs. So now we're still playing a waiting game to see what the Dow Jones does and also what the Russell 2000 does. The Russell 2000 has been lagging the other indexes. So I'm curious to see what the Dow does and the Russell 2000 does over the next couple of days before I make another move to jump back into markets. Because there's a very good chance that once the Dow makes an all-time high, and definitely if the Russell 2000 makes an all-time high in the next few days, then the market should give at least a 5 or 10% correction. That's the most logical path if those two also reach all-time highs in the next few days. So right now we're looking at the NASDAQ chart, QQQ. You see the green bar to the right. Looks like it was up 1.32% today. What concerns me is the RSI. The RSI is at 95%. Normally when it gets that high, it starts correcting. So we're keeping an eye on the RSI. We're keeping a very close eye on the Dow Jones and the Russell 2000. Let's try to look at some of the other charts. Okay, here we go for the S&P 500. You can also tell it was up today. Looks like it was up 0.88%. Its RSI is about 85%. Normally when it gets above 80, it starts correcting. So we're keeping an eye on that. Let's try to look at the Dow. Okay, here's the chart for the Dow. The RSI for the Dow is about 70. No, the RSI for the Dow is about, it's about 79. It can still move a little further. Remember, the Dow has not reached this all-time high yet. So in the next few days, we do expect the Dow to reach its all-time high if the markets don't pull back 5 to 10%. So let's take a look at what the Russell 2000 looks like. Okay, here's the Russell 2000 chart. Looks like it was up 1.52% today. Its RSI is pretty low, like 64. Has room to go. It's been behind the rest of the indexes all year long. So I'm expecting it to catch up to the rest of the indexes as far as all-time highs at some point. But not really sure if it's going to pull back first and then meet a new an all-time high. That's what we're keeping an eye on. So if you have any questions, any comments, please put your questions and comments below. We're keeping an eye on everything. If you ask me, I'm expecting a pullback in the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ in the next week or so. I would say between a 5 and a 10% pullback in the S&P 500 and NASDAQ in the next week or so. The Dow might slowly continue to go up until it meets its all-time high. The Russell 2000, it has plenty of room to go up before it hits its all-time high. So we're keeping an eye on the Dow, keeping an eye on the Russell 2000. We should expect pullbacks in the NASDAQ as well as the S&P 500. Enjoy.